morning, and welcome to the first episode of The Naked Truth About Gardening. Making a TV show is a curious thing. There are many decisions to be made. What format, what music, what setting. We even considered an email contest to determine my hairstyle, shirt color, and set design. Even the title has changed several times. When planning this show, the crew and I wanted to depict real people with real plants in actual gardening situations. But we all know what happens to the best made plans. So let's take a look, or what John would have me say. 3, 2, 1, cue the host. Hi, I'd like to talk about small space gardening. In today's world, we have less and less space to grow our plants. There's no longer the back 40, but many people living in cities and urban areas would like the benefits of growing plants and having a healthy living environment. So I have some great gadgets and gizmos to help you do that. The first one I want to talk about is called a woolly pocket. This is a mini woolly pocket for demonstration purposes, but they get up to 6 feet long. What makes this so wonderful is that it's made in the United States and it's made from 100% post-consumer recycled plastic. It kind of has a felt-like texture to it, and you hang it with these grommets, and you can hook it and hang it, or you can use zip ties and hang it. And basically, if I'm going to go over here, if you look inside, it's a pocket, and they call it a woolly pocket because it kind of feels like wool. But the keys to the functionality of this product is that inside is a plastic lining. You can see that there. And when you water, it retains the moisture. And there's this thing called a tongue, like your tongue in your mouth. And when you water up against this back wall, and it drips down this unlined piece of woolly and irrigates the soil all the way down to the bottom of the pocket, from the top all the way down to the bottom. So this is a great way to garden in a very small space. And I'm just going to show you a few plants. Here are some cherry tomatoes. They're a small, compact variety of tomatoes. We talked about variety being the spice of life. So this is a great variety. It's compact, and it's a cherry tomato. The roots don't get that deep. But see, we would just plant it right in here and hang this on a wall or on a fence, on your deck, and then you would be able to have cherry tomatoes in a very small space. A balcony. I've even seen them suction cupped with the hooks, the C hooks, to sliding glass doors. Good morning, and welcome to The Naked Truth About Gardening. Many people have asked me, why naked? Naked is the perfect word to describe the relationship between nature and humans. I am definitely a self-confessed seed hoarder. I have thousands of packets of seeds. So one of my tips is to use this card organizer box to store all your seeds in. It's about $10.99. Seeds like to be stored in a cool, dry place. The basic premise of our show is that interaction with nature is essential to human health. Scientists cannot explain it, but clinical studies have proven that people who garden and interact with nature live longer, stronger, healthier lives than those who don't. So let's talk about this pot here. It's not pretty, and I can hear the producer in the back saying to me, "That's horrible! Cut off all those dead leaves!" But I want to talk about managing our expectations when we're gardening and what is working and what is not working in this pot. This is a multi-seasonal kitchen pot, and it was planted with some cool weather lettuce. And now that the weather has suddenly turned hot, it has gone to bolt. So just cut it out. Just cut the lettuce off and throw it out. Here's some other, you can eat it, obviously. Okay? But when we look further into this pot, we still have plants that are going to grow and fill in. Here we have some basil over the side. Okay? Here, that is 3, that is not 1. And in the middle, we have a cherry tomato. And then in the back, once the parsley is done and the cherry tomato is done, we'll cut these out. We'll bring our basil in for the summer. And so for a simple $9, we've gotten 3 seasons of growing out of 1 pot. You can have the early lettuce crops. You're going to get the mid-season tomato crop, and you're going to have basil all year round. This show is different from other gardening programs. In fact, the plant growing techniques presented may challenge traditional gardening practices. We will explore this ancient art of growing while revealing tips, tricks, and techniques that utilize technology of the 21st century that defines the modern urban gardener of today. Well, you know, there's one weed I'd really like to talk about. It's an evil, horrible, awful weed that needs to be eradicated from this planet of the earth. And that weed is poison oak, ivy, and sumac. The very first thing that you want to do when you're dealing with this weed and eradicating it from your garden is to put on a long-sleeved shirt. This will protect your arms from contact with the oils in either the leaves, stems, branches, or roots, because you can have an allergic reaction to any of the oil from any part of the plant. The other tip about when handling, there we go, I got my floppy arms, is I don't use cotton gloves when I'm touching this particular weed. Now, I am allergic. It won't kill me. I don't need an EpiPen, but I get a nasty, ugly, oozy rash that lasts for 10 to 14 days. I don't use cotton gloves because cotton will tend to absorb the oils and then concentrate them on my skin and continually abrade and infect me with that nasty stuff. So what I do use are these rubber-coated gloves. These happen to be from Tomboy Tools, but you can use any rubber-coated gloves because the rubber will resist the oils seeping through to my skin and causing me to get a rash. Now I'm going to touch it. You can see this is poison ivy. Yeah. It has 5 leaves and a woody stem, and it has these tendrils that it can grow up things, and when the stem is underground, it will make roots and shoot out in different places. Now, a lot of people think poison ivy is essential for wildlife. I know deer like to eat it, and some other foraging animals find it to be important in their daily life. I don't care about the animals. I don't want this in my yard. I don't want it anywhere near my children, my pets, or my family. So how do I eradicate it? The first thing I attempt, is I recycle my plastic shopping bag. If you only have a few pieces, this is a great way because you have to take the root out. I grab, do I have it? Yes, I have it. I grab the plant and I pull the bag over the plant so that I can dispose it. I do not compost this, and I throw it into the trash. Tie it tight and toss it. Everywhere I go, people tell me, I don't garden. I can't grow anything. Every plant I touch dies. I believe anyone can grow plants once they know how. Even confessed plant killers can learn the simple skills needed to sustain plant life. Like fashion, every gardener has their own style. How you grow plants is as unique to you as the clothes you put on every morning. Remember in the beginning of the show when we were talking and I said that this was not a prissy, perfect, polished show? Here's the naked part. We're going to talk about some plants that we purchased, and we're going to talk about growing herbs. Why does every beginner gardener start with growing herbs? Because herbs like neglect. They like poor soil. They like to be forgotten about. So we're going to start today by talking about basil. And here I have 2 basil plants. This is a Genovese basil, and this is a variegated basil. And I have to tell you, variety is the spice and the secret to success in gardening. This is a wonderful outdoor gardening plant, but you know, I like basil all winter long. This is the variety that does better in the house. If you don't know that, you'll take this plant into your house in the wintertime, it will die, just like John's did, and then you'll feel like you can't grow basil. But that's not true. You just didn't pick a basil that was compatible with you. So now that we've picked our basil, because I have an outside and an inside garden, we're going to talk about how to take care of that basil. Today we're going to talk about heirloom tomatoes and a bountiful harvest and what to do with your harvest. I have my friend Julio with me, and he's going to tell us how to prepare some very interesting tomato dishes. So why don't you start preparing? And I'm going to talk about some of these different varieties. I know when we were talking about doing this segment, you mentioned that you had never seen some of these varieties before.
Yes, I use the cherry tomatoes the most, and the beefsteak tomatoes, and some of them I haven't seen.
Have you tasted the different ones? Let's slice this one a little bit here. We're going to do a little tasty test. I love the yellow and the orange ones because they have more sugars in them and less acidity. But the green one, have a taste. It has a very interesting flavor to it, and it would add an interesting texture and crunch. It has that tomatoey, but not so much the sweetness to it. What do you think?
Yes.
And I love the colors. These are black, and we have the orange. This actually is my favorite. This is an heirloom tomato, and the texture, it just holds up so well in a sandwich, and the flavor is outstanding. I do like the red tomatoes, but sometimes, you know, the red tomatoes don't like me. So one of the things that we're going to do with some of these cherry tomatoes is skewers. Julio and I both have children, so we're always looking for interesting ways to engage them in eating fresh fruits and vegetables. So we alternate. You have fresh mozzarella?
Yes, I have mozzarella, I have basil, then I'll do a tomato.
Here, I'll give you some of the orange ones.
Some of the yellow ones. Then I'll do another mozzarella.
I want to say that
And
the
basil.
tomatoes are from Pittstown Fruit Farm, a local farm here, and they've done a great job. And I think it's great for farmers to grow some of the different varieties instead of the same run-of-the-mill tomatoes that you can get at the, here, let's bring this up. Just this one right now. Okay. If we can get a close-up on this. Now, one of the things that intrigued me on the Facebook page when Julio and I were planning this segment is you have an alternate presentation for this.
Yes.
Let's see it. So one of the alternate presentations other than flat on a plate, and I just love this, is almost like a teepee. So why don't you do that?
Sure.
Okay, we're talking. And we're talking. We're going to put a little decorative down here. Maybe some of these heirloom peppers. Or, you know, we could do the dark ones. I'm not a good cutter. If I cut my finger off and blood squirts everywhere, then we can just spread these along the bottom here. The darker color. Now, isn't that awesome? I mean, wouldn't your guests love to come into the house and have that as a fancy hors d'oeuvre. I just think that's a fantastic idea. I know I didn't fully answer the question of why the word naked. Truthfully, we chose the word naked because this show has a reality element to it. It's not polished or perfect. It'll never tell you what's a good thing. It's more realistic, gnarly, buggy, and definitely muddy. So the crew and I would like to invite you on a journey of 1,000,000 miles. A journey that starts with one step. A journey that just might change your life. So let's talk about technology. I found this neat little gadget in my local pharmacy. It's called Eggs and Plants. And basically, it's a great thing to do with your children. Basically, what happens is you unwrap one of these adorable little eggs. Right here. The growing instructions are on the bottom. We'll take those out. And it's quite easy to understand. Has 3 little pictures. Okay? And it's just like an egg. I just need a tool. Tools. Crack off the top. Not like that. Add water. Guess we're not perfect. And in 7 days, you can have a plant like this. I found this cute little adorable idea, and I just had to share it with you. They're called eggplants. I'm just going to, hopefully, it will go well, demonstrate with you. But basically, it's a great way to garden with children. I'm going to try. So we're going to crack off the top. Hopefully. Maybe not. Okay. Oh, there we go. We have a crack. We have more cracks. Woohoo! Isn't that cool? I just love that. Everything is in there. You're going to add a little water. If I had water, I would add water. And you'll have to tune back in and see if the plants grow. This is a great thing to do with children. They can watch them, and it has a happy little face. Tomatoes are tomatoes, pumpkins are pumpkins, and the egg-shaped plants have all different flowers. We are so pleased you could join us today. For more gardening information or to connect with gardeners of the globe, go to www.honestgardening.com. If you have specific questions about today's show, you can find me on Facebook or follow me on Twitter. All of us at Down and Dirty Enterprises hope you enjoyed watching the show as much as we enjoyed making it. We hope it's both entertaining and informative, but most of all, we hope you'll join us in the weeks to come. Until next time, stay healthy, stay strong, and happy gardening.
I can